Okay, then we can start. Thank you, Violeta. It is again my pleasure to take part in this wonderful event and initiative of class 3, the class of arts, and the class 4 of natural sciences. And you all know interdisciplinary networking is an important topic of our academy, just in the sense of CP Snow, namely to construct bridges between the two cultures of, on the one side, the humanities and the arts, and the other side, the natural sciences. And this evening, visual arts meets natural sciences and archaeology. And I look forward to learn more about visual arts by a practicing and creative artist, Erzsébet, Katona, Szabó. But on the other side, there will be, I think so, an exciting talk of one of our most engaged and motivated deans of the Academy, Ioannis Liritzis. At this occasion, at the end of the year, I like to thank you, dear Violeta and dear Ioannis, for all your engagement, support, and work for our Academy in the past year. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Herr President, Professor Klaus Mainzer. I'm very happy that you came to us again. I would like to tell you, if somebody has a microphone, no? Okay, I would like to tell you that when I discovered and I began to communicate with Ioannis Liritzis, I was curious to discover what he's doing, and I looked in the internet. I was very fascinated, and then I had to insist in order to convince him to come to us and to have a lecture. I'm very happy I succeeded, and thank you, Ioannis, again. I would like to present Ioannis. Ioannis Liritzis is the Dean of the Class 4 Sciences of our European Academy of Sciences and Arts. He is Professor of Physics in Archaeology, a discipline that is named archaeometry. His field of specialization is the application of natural sciences to archaeology and cultural heritage. Currently, he is also Distinguished Professor of Archaeometry, Natural Sciences at the Henan University, Kaifeng in China. He served also as head and first starter of the new Department of Mediterranean Studies at the University of Aegean in 1999, member of the Senate of the University of Aegean, and member of the Executive Committee of National Recognition of Foreign Academic Diplomas. His prior impressive career includes the Greek Ministry of Culture and the Academy of Athens. He has several academic distinctions in universities in Edinburgh, Samara State Institute of Culture, Rhodes University, South Africa, French Academy of Sciences, Letters and Arts, Dijon. Editor-in-chief or member of editorial boards of more than 30, not 13, 30 journals in Scopus. He has more than 300 publications and books. Liritzis is best known for the invention of two novel dating methods. The method for surface luminescence dating introduced at 1994 and the obsidian hydration dating introduced at 2002. He has brought significant contributions in archaeoastronomy, geophysics, archaeomagnetism, statistics in earthquakes, nuclear geophysics, and also the several interdisciplinary research fields: astronomy, planetology, paleomagnetism, paleoclimatology. His work has been published in numerous scientific journals such as Nature. He is included in the 2% top world rank list of the most cited scientists in various disciplines by Stanford University, released in 2021, in this year. Professor Liritzis is amongst the 2% for all of his fields and in the top of 1.3% in archaeology. I had to learn a new language in order to present you. Ioannis, I'm very happy. Thank you very much for your coming.
You said so much things. I feel a bit red. Thanks very much, Violeta. And thank you, everybody who honored us with your presence today in this series of colloquia that we have successfully so far organized with Violeta, my dear Violeta, the Dean of Arts. And I will get straight to the point because we have only half an hour. Briefly, I introduce the subject of natural sciences applied to artifacts of archaeological, history of art, and cultural heritage origin with some examples. The natural science in archaeology, which is called archaeometry, as Violeta said, and it is an interdisciplinary field which emerged essentially in the 60s in the University of Oxford. The best place for finding the past is not other than an archaeological site. An archaeological site is a site where the past activity is preserved and it is traced by various things like food remains, structures, masonries, human manufactured objects, and others. So for these materials, invasive and non-invasive scientific investigation is applied by laboratory and portable instrumentation. The discoveries of artwork and monuments are made with fun and joy and following, however, strict scientific methodology. This is some moments from my excavation in nearby Delphi with students from overall the world. The scientific analysis of these materials, material culture, is done either in situ or in the museum or in the laboratory. Thus, archaeometry or archaeological sciences gives answers to questions of where, when, how, and what, why, and also mobility ancestry of past human societies. In any case, whatever measurement is taken, the precision and accuracy, the reliability and proper statistical model are a sine qua non to the reliability level for a final result. So errors and comprehension of any measurement are essential parameters to the final result. And those two axioms are the ultimate aim for any result. There are many types of ancient artifacts. Investigating the past human ingenuity, it requires remains of material culture and human artifacts, works of art, human remains of organic or inorganic origin. For all these investigations, of course, multiple techniques are available and methods to support instrumental analysis, including nuclear, spectroscopy, chemical, electronic devices. I will present to you some selective examples of data obtained from artifacts through the natural sciences. How do we investigate, for example, stone tools made by flint or obsidian? Stone tools are studied for the manufacturing technique, for the champ operatoire, the operation sequence, and exchange via trade and distance of transportation. You can see here some schematic diagrams for that. So via archaeometry, the determination of the time since they were made is possible, and as well as via chemical and mineralogical analysis, the source that they come from is determined. That is the raw material for their provenance. Here you can see some characteristic tools of obsidian as blades, arrows, arrowheads, axes, and chisels. And for your information, the obsidian is a glassy rock which is made from cooled lava in volcanic eruptions, in volcanic eruption centers. And here a detailed microscopic analysis of the surface of an obsidian tool and the interior of an obsidian tool, the rim of hydrated, this is a surface, in a micro scale.
Γιάννη, με συγχωρείς, βλέπουμε την πρώτη διαφάνεια ακόμα μόνο. We are only looking at the first transparency.
Really?
Is that okay?
No, I have been in many transparencies. So sorry, something is going on.
Could you please point to the lower part of the screen? There is a sign with like a cup to enlarge the picture, to see in a larger perspective.
Sorry about that, yes.
Yeah, right. We haven't seen these. Yeah.
This one, now this one?
Yes, but you can please...
It's okay now if I go on like that?
Enlarge it. Can you enlarge it by...
Now
view. You must switch on the full viewing point in the PowerPoint.
Yeah. Στο κάτω δεξιό μέρος, εκεί που είναι ο ήχος.
Yes, I did it. In the
υπάρχει σαν κούπα.
Yes, I did it. I did it.
Ναι, δεν είναι μεγάλος όμως.
So I have to show in this screen. Otherwise, the one that you said, Tassos, it does work. It gives like that, you know. Can you see that now? No, I cannot hear.
Yes, we can see it.
Now, this one?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, so I go like that. Okay, so when I was talking before, I would give you again, you know, some what I meant before. This is some moments of discoveries during my dig. You know, this is artifacts that go to laboratory, or the portable devices go to the artifact, okay, or in the museums. And here is the natural sciences retrieve important information from artifacts. So we answer questions of where, when, how, what, why, and mobility ancestry. Is it okay so far? Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so thanks. This is statistical errors in archaeometry that I was talking about. So that's good to see what I meant with the two axioms, that every measurement needs to have an error in order to have a reliable result after all. These are the artifacts, which is fundamental art objects of organic or inorganic material. The instrumentation, which we need, making use, you know, of microscopy, electromagnetic radiation, spectroscopy, nuclear physics, etc., from natural sciences, and some selective examples to obtain from artifacts through the natural sciences, starting with stone tools, flint, and obsidians for the chronology and the characterization of provenance of these tools, and also the operational sequence, the distance they traveled, you know, through the trade. And some characteristic obsidians I was talking before, and some thin section, you know, micro photograph of how it looks inside such a glassy material. This is a natural glass.
Sorry, might I ask if it's right? I just see the second slide, so I guess you are now on another slide, right?
Can you see now? Can you see this? No?
The artifacts, right? I see the artifacts with on the right down corner with A, B, B, E.
This one here. The artifacts.
So it's the second slide.
Yeah, we see the second slide.
This is the 7th slide.
Yeah, then you must go forward.
We don't see the presentation. We see the other screen.
Oh. So
I think that's the problem.
On the left side, we have a column which is very.
Can you see now?
Oh,
now it's perfect. Instrumentation.
So I have to keep it. I have to keep it this way. I'm sorry. You know, when I blow up, it does work. I don't know why. So I have to keep that. When I was thinking about the instrumentation, I meant this one. Now, if I change, can you see it? For example,
you have instrumentation, spectroscopy, nuclear, and now you have selective examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these two tools you can see here now.
Yes.
And the chords. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Obsidian.
And here is the obsidian, which is obsidian, but we have to see it. Let me see if I blow up. If you look, can you see it?
Yeah, wonderful. Just it's so beautiful. So just put it again so we can see.
Okay, can you see it now?
Slide
minerals is good.
This is the an obsidian tool which has been blown up to see the surface and the hydration rim, which is this white belt, absorbed water. Can you see it? Okay, so it's okay. Now I have to. Can you see now the obsidian sources in the Mediterranean?
Now it's border of
no, we don't see the presentation.
Okay, so we go again here. So
now it's obsidian sources in Mediterranean sphere.
13, yes. So Mediterranean is regarded as a supra-regional interaction sphere during the late prehistory. Concerning the obsidian exchange, it is called black gold, actually, obsidian. It was so precious material before the arrival of metals, before the 3500 BC. So you see obsidian sources here, the cedars. Can you see them?
Yes.
Yes. And acquisition, transportation to settlements, the sphere of influence, you know, implying in certain cases maritime activities as well. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is plotting of chemical elements from obsidian tools and sources, and the identification of sources and the attribution to ore deposits of excavated tools from Milos, which is here, Milos, and here Mel, also from Sardinia, Sar, different obsidian sources, and Anatolia. So these groups, you know, help when we make analysis of the tools in archaeological sites to attribute where do they come from, to attribute their origin. Now, these are another example of clustering of obsidian tools and by dendrograms, note the grouping of similar chemistry obsidian tools as colored rectangular for comparison. You can see here in the lower bar in both plots. So here we identify the clusters, which means the obsidians are from the same source. So we can identify sources, which means people were having somehow trade with some others, you know, other neighbors, or they were going to the source, to the obsidian source, and collecting the material, the raw material, and making the tools later in their settlement. I will give you an example of obsidian dating method. Advanced, can you see that now? Okay. I have to ask you because I'm not sure if you know when I speak. And so this is another slide which gives an idea of advanced techniques such as the secondary ion mass spectrometry, which can be used to profile hydrogen, which is part of water, which water gets into the obsidian from the humidity of the environment, versus depth. Depth from the surface, you know, down the body of the obsidian. And this S-like the S-like curve, you can see here, is used to extract the age equation for the determination of the date deconstruction of construction from the raw obsidian rock. Next slide gives the age equation on the right, derived from for the dating of obsidian tools, which shows here, and a plot on the left of some ages against the archaeological expected age. So you know a linear trend, which implies that the reliability of this novel dating method seems SS, as I call it, which stands for secondary ion mass spectrometry, surface saturation model, which I have developed some years ago. Now, another method useful for dating, is the dating of artifacts, is the radiocarbon, EC14, of dates organic artifacts such as the wood, charcoal, bone, and parchment and textiles. The radiocarbon is one of the several dating methods in archaeometry, which continually is improved since its discovery by the physicist and chemist Willard Libby, who got actually the Nobel Prize for this method in chemistry for this discovery in 1960. Carbon-14, you can see here, is produced from solar and cosmic neutrons hitting the atmospheric nitrogen, which as CO2, carbon dioxide, is distributed throughout the atmosphere, the biosphere, and the oceans. These are referred collectively as the carbon exchange reservoirs, and each component from oceans, biosphere, atmosphere is also referred as carbon exchange reservoir. The different elements of the carbon exchange reservoir vary in how much carbon they store and in how long it takes for the C14, this atom, radioactive atom, generated by cosmic rays, it needs to fully mix with these reservoirs. Once upon the time, and this is applied to the, as I said, to the materials of organic origin, which include, carbon anyway. So let me give you some interesting examples. Once upon the time, in 5,005 years ago, a Hader traveled from in the snowy Alps away from his settlement, but it seems that he had entered another territory, and he was fought with others, and finally died from bleeding. Obvious scars in his hands and a flint arrowhead in his back are evident. It was a male with all his equipment and clothes, shoes, bow, arrows, flint knife, etc. His body was preserved due to the year through ice and was discovered in 1990s by mountaineers, partially uncovered by snow due to the climatic change and snow melt. Today, this unique human finding with all his outfit is kept in Tirolo Museum. A variety of archaeometric methods were applied here, and information acquired regarding his last meals, paleopathological study, DNA, and more, and C14 dating. Here you can see it was dated, all the outfits and organic things, that are associated with this person in 3300 BC, which is the onset of archaeometallurgy in Europe. Another very interesting radiocarbon result is the age of the Turin linen shroud. You can see here, finally dated in the 14th century, 600 years ago, and thus it was not the shroud supposed to have wrapped, Jesus after crucifixion, although doubts exist regarding contamination. The main consensus of scientists remains as artifact of the 14th century. Now, let me mention some luminescence dating, another method, a phenomenon of solid state and nuclear physics for dating and authenticity of ceramic finds, but also many other archaeomaterials like sediments and stones. Important contribution of luminescence is in the authenticity of forged artifacts. Here, modern firing, making a ceramic to look old gives zero luminescence versus a large amount of luminescence quantity if it was ancient. It is necessary in these cases, when we make authenticity testing, to drilling into the clay body of the material, here the horse, in several locations to verify that the overall figure of the artifact is of the same date and origin. This is also a certificate, an authenticity certificate issued by Oxford University for a horse which was, art historians had some doubts if it was genuine or not. It was a Han dynasty, 200 BC to 200 AD, and the thermoluminescence stage gave a 400 BC to 400 AD, which proved to be genuine, of course. It was authentic. But in other cases, in many cases actually, we have found that most, 60% of the artifacts were modern imitations. Another prehistoric artwork is interesting here is the stencil art in Kimberley region in Australia. Here the artwork was covered by wasp nest sediments from the birds, which was dated by oil cell dating, the sediment, giving a minimum of 17,000 years before present for the prehistoric artwork of these hands, with ochre. Here is the painting, also a painting of murals, vases, panels, icons, statues with non-destructive methods, which is more desired by archaeologists and museum curators these days. We have, for example, the investigation of painted surfaces via the visible, the IR and UV radiation based on the different wavelengths and penetration these radiation have on the surface of a panel, of an icon, of a material, absorption, reflection properties of these materials. So in the left, you can see investigation of painted surface via visible IR UV, and on the right is the images of an old manuscript which with an MSI, which is multispectral imaging, is giving in a visible range this one above or right upper, in IR lower, and the pseudo color in IR lower left. You can try to read to make eligible this text. So the difficulty in reading manuscripts and inscriptions are due to surface distraction in stone and overpainting or blackening in parchment, paper, papyrus, and in these cases only X-ray fluorescence is used. I had actually tried to make this. Can you see it now as I did it? No? No. No.
We saw difficulty.
It has difficulty, yeah, because it was very nicely presented, with the movement, but I'm sorry about that. I don't know why. So this is a case study regarding the Archimedes palimpsest, and the page, the book, and the page with this from this superb discovery. The palimpsest of Archimedes consists of 174 pages, 5 books, 7 monographs of Archimedes' works, 10 pages of Attic orator Hyperides, and 6 pages of works of Neoplatonic philosopher and other. It was found in Constantinople and from parchment by a 10th century scribe. This is the earliest known copy of the work of Archimedes, 3rd century BC, and 200 years later, after the 10th century scribe, the parchment was reused and turned into a Christian prayer book. This reuse was done in a superficial way, and it was possible to recognize the underlying text and geometrical figures. These are multispectral images. On the left is the Archimedes text appears fade in RGB, red, green, blue, and disappears via the red channels of RGB. And on the right, you can see the UV emits in blue of visible spectrum, and text appears in geometrical designs too. You can see in the background some round circles and some geometrical, designs here. Here is the combined reception of red and blue fluorescent channels for the RGB. The underlying text here on the right appears red. You can see underlying red as it absorbs blue and reflects red. And you can see the text and geometrical figures better here. Some triangles, some circles, and straight lines, etc. This is figures, of course, from the theorems of well-known theorems of Archimedes. And cave paintings. Well, the famous rock art paintings at Lascaux cave in France was analyzed and dated by C14 radiocarbon. It was the black pigment, actually, which was charcoal. So the prehistoric artists, used charcoal to make this figure, but charcoal comes from burnt wood. So the burning of the wood, the time of burning the wood to take the charcoal represents or corresponds, the same time that the artist used this charcoal to make this figure, this art. Charcoal was dated by C14, and non-destructive analysis of the other colors. The dating was 15,000 BC. And also, while the red and the yellow colors are iron ochres. The documentation is an emerging field with fast development, especially for the preservation of art risk antiquities from natural and anthropogenic distractions. Also, the documentation of the execution techniques used to make the work of art. This can be made in a non-destructive, that means we don't subble, without subbling, way via electromagnetic radiation in the visible IR, UV, near IR, and beyond spectra. We may present spectra in a kind of tomography, as you can see here on the right side, which digitally reveals the underlying layers of an underpainted work of art, like the palimpsest that I showed you before. I will present some artifact analysis from the Museum of Delphi, decorated ceramics on the left, powder in a jar, ceramic in the middle, and on the right, magnificent glass jars by the portable XRF. So XRF, the portable device, went to the museum, and we made the measurements without subbling. This is the interesting point, is the pink powder in this little ceramic vase, which was found in a tomb of a theater actress excavated in Delphi, 4th century BC. And the identification of sulfur and mercury, as well as lead, clearly identifies the powder as cinnabar, well known those times, in ancient times, that is mercury sulfide, and is a red pigment, very commonly used since antiquity. And this is mixed, it seems here, with lead oxide, which is white lead. So it makes this pinky somehow, red and white, the pinky, powder. This was used as a makeup of actress face. And the cinnabar and lead, of course, are poisonous. So it is, in my opinion, it is most probable that this young actress died from the inhalation and skin penetration of this toxic powder. Here are some groups of similarity, groups of ceramic vases from their chemical contents processed by statistical analysis. And the grouping, as I said here, implies identification of similar clay source. Glasses also can be grouped and investigate the provenance. Glasses from Delphi are shown earlier, and from other places, Greece, Syria, Italy. It was processed by principal component analysis. It's one of the statistical techniques for clustering. We have identified 3 groups, one from Rhodes and 2 others, but especially the one group, the A, was reanalyzed again, and it was found 4 subgroups, which are indicated here with these four different colors: the red, green, blue, pink. Why we did this? Because we did this comparing Delphi with 140 or 200 other glasses in the same period, in different places. And it was found that the 3 of Delphian glass pods coming from Thebes, similar to Thebes, and a subgroup from Satricum, which is in Italy, and the 4th Delphian glass from another unknown yet source. Bronze cylindrical compass with lead and powder inside was analyzed, and it was found that it was bronze, orichalcus, copper and zinc, and some lead and tin, and the powder inside, it was not anything else but corrosion. An interesting application has been made on the Annunciation Church at Amphissa in central Greece. The interior was painted by Spyros Papaloukas, a remarkable figure of Greek expressionism. The aim of conservation was the conservation program of mural paintings in Amphissa Cathedral, which was the composition of organic and inorganic substances of pigments, binders, preparatory layers, and mortar strength and composition, and defines past rescue operations. The methods used are Raman spectroscopy, FTIR, photoacoustic spectroscopy for identifying, various colors, pigments, and binders. Also X-ray fluorescence, chromatography, and X-ray diffraction. And here are some characteristic spectra of Fourier on the left and Raman on the right, of organic and inorganic substances, and also microscopic imaging of profiling lower here of the used by artists preparatory layers, which indicates here, you can see 5 layers, several attempts to reach his desired result by Papaloukas. Non-destructive analysis in situ on the wall painting hagiographies was made. Here my student takes some readings in order to provide the necessary knowledge of the artist palette and for conservation work. As a result, Spyros Papaloukas, a remarkable figure of Greek expressionism, for his experiments used a wide palette, various chromatic layers from different materials and binders: hematite, red and yellow ochres, carbon, ultramarine, Prussian blue, gypsum, casein, egg tempera, and glue. Here are more or non-destructive, non-invasive measurements on the Delphi Museum, where I come from as well, works of art on marble statues and reliefs for pigment analysis, and here it's me at work. Last but not least is the implementation of computer systems in artifact documentation. Regarding the popular research and applications of computer systems, the cyber archaeology has emerged, making use of big data collection, storage, documentation, processing in the field by various diversified equipment, and with a result, the digital reconstruction of monuments, you can see here, left, and artifacts as well, and in the field and in the museum. Well, here our brief voyage to the realm of archaeometry and natural sciences in analyzing artifacts and in deciphering the past has reached an end. As I said, it is a brief introduction to the big field of archaeometry. The natural sciences with archaeometry strengthen and develop the spirit of interdisciplinarity, delves into the past and retains our memory. In the remote past, we meet our future, and also enhances sustainability and growth. Natural science in art strengthen their cultural dialogue, and this fosters ecumenical values too. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ioannis. You may add also in this spectacular Academie space, music also. It's a polyphony here, what you did.
Yes.
Maybe a
polyphony
actually, of polyphony.
there is an idea of making some measurements of acoustics in theaters. So physics, again, in music.
This is the next research. Thank you so much. So before making the next step, because we have a lot of questions for you, I would like to ask if Erzsébet, Katona, Szabó here is, or her son, Matthias, are you here? Could you tell us if you are here?
Nice to meet you. I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. So, because we have a problem with Erzsébet. Erzsébet has health problem. She prepared for us a film. Mitch has a possibility to show us the film, and Matthias is the son who helped Erzsébet to make the film. May I present the biography or Erzsébet? Please, Matthias, you can tell me if I don't spell it correctly. So, Erzsébet, Katona, Szabó, is okay? Erzsébet?
It's Erzsébet. Erzsébet, Katona, Szabó in Hungarian.
Erzsébet, Katona, Szabó. Erzsébet, Katona, Szabó, visual artist, was born in Cluj, Kolozsvár, in Hungarian language, in Romania in 1952. She graduated from the Academy of Fine and Applied Arts of Kolozsvár, also Cluj, Cluj-Napoca in Romania, in 1975 as tapestry designer. Before her immigration to Hungary in 1983, she had worked as a dress, puppet, and stage designer for a short time. After designing tapestry, she began producing monumental leather collages with original technique. She presented her leather collages in solo and group exhibition all over the world, not only in Romania and Hungary, but also in New Delhi, Helsinki, Paris, Lodz, Tokyo, Graz. Starting 2002, she had also been making calligraphic paper collages based on Shakespeare's sonnets. These works have been featured in various group exhibitions, and they debuted in solo exhibitions in Penlanua, Wales, Midsummer Sonnets Festival, 2009, and in Budapest in National Széchenyi Library in Barabás Villa. In 2004, she was elected a member of the Hungarian Academy of Arts. Since 2008, she is a member of Academy of Arts and Sciences in Salzburg, European Academy. Her work is currently represented in public facilities, collections, and museums, both in Hungary and abroad. She is the founder and leader of the Gödöllő Applied Art Workshop, founded in 1998, which is a spiritual successor of the Europa-wide reputed turn of the century Gödöllő Art Colony. Please, Matthias, can you tell us Gödöllő? Spell it better.
It is Gödöllő. Gödöllő.
Thank you very much. Would you like to say some words about your mother?
I think we are pretty thorough in the presentation, so I don't want to anything to add at this point.
So let's follow the film, and after this film, because Erzsébet is not coming, no, Matthias?
I am not sure Of course, she's at home, so you can send us your questions in email.
Okay, I shall put here in our space here. First, I send you my email if somebody would like to receive the film. And here I would like to put the address of Erzsébet. Oh, why cannot? Ah, okay. And now this is address of Erzsébet. If you have questions, I would like, I need your help in deciding this. I think it's better please excuse me for my impression. I wanted to know if Erzsébet is here. I would like to ask you if it's not better now to have the question for Ioannis, because it's so fresh in our memory. And after this, we shall follow the film. Is it okay, my proposal? So you have in the chat my address if you desire to receive the film, also the film again, and also the address of the visual artist. She's not coming today, maybe because I suppose she's not coming because of health problems. And on the other hand, I have the possibility to send you the address in internet where you can follow all of our colloquium, which were recorded by Mitch in this year. So please, Ioannis, do you agree with my proposal that we are beginning first with a question for you?
Yeah, I don't mean, yes. And then we can put on the video, you mean?
Put on the film, exactly.
Yeah,
okay. And then after the film, please do write at Erzsébet. She will be very happy to receive your mail. And now, Ioannis, I would like to tell you that it is really inspiring what I saw. And I think everybody can imagine that you do not have to be a visual art in order to get inspired of archaeology objects and artifacts, how do you call it? I said that this also has to do with music, what you presented, just because of the richness and the complexity of the theme. And I would say also we have composers who wrote. We have, for example, Aurel Stroiev, who wrote palimpsest, and composers working inspired of the idea of palimpsest. That's why it's so musical. But I would like to open the possibility to our friends and colleagues to ask you. I suppose many people would like to ask you. Who would like to ask somebody?
I have a sign.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you.
Ioannis, that was very exciting, of course, to learn all these methods on physical, chemical grounds, which were the main part of your talk. But in your last section, you shortly reminds us of the methods of computer science, and especially the reconstruction of old buildings and things like that. My question is, are you also applicating methods of AI machine learning, namely pattern recognition? I know that nowadays, archaeologists work with drones, and then by sensors, the structures of grounds are analyzed, and then they have some perhaps sign there may be an old village or buildings or even graves or things like that. And another way of application may be with pattern recognition, that these artificial systems can recognize similarities, perhaps between different styles and objects. And maybe that they are better even than humans and scientists, because they are more efficient in analyzing a lot of data. That is my question. how far are you also engaged in these computer-assisted methods?
Yeah. I agree with what you said, but in half an hour I could not include everything. That's why I thought that I would touch a little bit of everything. This computer science in archaeology, which has opened a new field of cyber archaeology. Briefly, I mentioned that. Reconstruction, drone, balloon, satellite pictures, GIS, environmental reconstructions, and artifacts and monuments as well, through augmented reality, immersive reality. It is an increased field with many applications in many parts of the world, especially in the Mediterranean area, because we have a lot of many, cultural objects. And machine learning, IT is applied for this purpose. Yes, actually, that will be a separate lecture, I could say, of itself. Computer systems and digital documentation of the cultural heritage. That is a separate, new, different, unique, lecture. So I could not fit it in my lecture, as you understand. But yes, the progress is very great, actually. And for the comparison, instead of doing for example, clustering or based on analysis of chemical analysis, methodological analysis, one can apply these 3D reconstructions and to make comparisons of shapes and the sizes and various other things, between these objects. Yes, it is an upcoming field. I'm not working in this field. I'm working mostly on the reconstruction of monuments and artifacts, and placing these reconstructed materials in 3D into their environment. So trying to make an ancient city, for example, with the monuments and artifacts as close to the reality as possible from the information we have, archaeological remains, and also other painting in potteries. So indeed, yes, the digitalization and the IT, is most useful in this kind of applications now in cultural heritage. And museums, they have recognized this value, and they have adopted these techniques. Some museums, not all of them, because these projects should be funded. But whatever they make with digitalization and with the digital presentation of virtual reality, it is much more attractive to the students, to the society, rather than visiting a museum, and looking to an object with a label with a few lines, which does not show, educated, neither, attractive. So it becomes more and more useful in museums, and some countries, they have put a lot of money to increase, this kind of use of artificial intelligence and machine learning for these purposes.
Thank you.
So you are working also as an architect?
Well, we are working with architects, yes. The architectural heritage, it's called.
Yeah, fantastic. I would like to invite somebody else who would like to contact you, please.
I have a question, if I may. Yes, when you apply different methods to date for dating certain artifacts, is it possible, and the methods are different with different principles and so on, is it possible to decide which method is more accurate, or some methods that are less accurate than others can be discarded? set aside. So by having a lot of tools this way, you can say perhaps which are the better ones, the most accurate of them. Has that been done?
Yeah. The point in this question is that every method applies to a certain type of material. For example, radiocarbon applies to the organic materials which have carbon, not to the inorganic, which is rock or stone or ceramic. But for the latter, luminescence is applied. So the comparison is not as such, easy to say the one is better than the other, because there is no comparison. One is for one type of materials, the other is for the other material. If we had 2 or 3 methods for dating wood, I would say yes. For example, dendrochronology, 3-ring dating, and carbon-14. Then we can say which is more accurate. More accurate is the dendrochronology, because every ring is 1 year. No mistake, no errors. But with carbon-14, we have errors. Errors not only statistical from the nuclear counting, but also from the calibration, which is the major source of error in radiocarbon dating. And if the calibration curve is somehow linear in some parts of the time in the past, fair enough, we can have a small error, final error of the calibrated radiocarbon age. If the age result we obtain converted to calibration falls within a part of the curve which has wiggles, as we say, up downs, then the age, the C14 age, intersects the curve in many points, which means several probabilities for an age to be true. So in this case, the age error is big. So for organic materials, we use the radiocarbon, but if in the same layer, the cultural layer, there are other inorganic materials like tools, ceramics, then we apply with other methods appropriate for the for dating inorganic materials, and we compare the radiocarbon, the organic carbon, charcoal, for example, with the inorganic, since both they come from the same cultural horizon, and one would expect to be of the same age. So there, the comparison is good. We don't say the one is better than the other, because, as I said, there are no comparison. The one applies to the one type of rocks, the other applies to different. Textile, for example, is only radiocarbon, not luminescence. Okay, so the best for having a reliable dating result is for a cultural horizon, a layer, the same age. So all materials belong to the same, this codex to the same age span, let us say. We try to date various types of materials by the corresponding appropriate method, and then all the results should converge into one age. That is the best. If it doesn't, then there we start to say something is wrong here. Is it wrong, the dating of this material organic, or should be probably some intrusion, some disturbance of the layers, and some upper layers came down and the lower went up. So we have to have a non-destructive stratigraphy. So the problem then moves away from the radiochronologists, and it has to be solved with the archaeologists who have excavated the site.
Thank you very much.
Such a complex activity. It's incredible, Ioannis. You could tell us stories like in 1001 Nights.
Yeah, there are so many.
Yeah, I would like to ask if somebody else would like to ask something. It's not necessary to ask only about archaeometry, maybe also about another aspect of your activity. If nobody is somebody who would like to ask something, Ioannis?
I would like to say actually one interesting case that I did with some German colleagues some years ago to relate a meteoritic impact on Earth, you know, in some place, especially in Bavaria, in the Chiemgau, in Chiemsee Lake, that was supposed to have produced, you know, these lakes, small and large, you know, pieces of lakes, by the impact some years ago. So we collected impacted material, quartz, you know, which has been struck by this somehow, you know, meteorite. And so we know when this impact occurred. But this impact has another influence on the society there and of the settlements around there. So there is a connection, you see, once more, dating an astronomical or geological event, atmospheric, let us say, but with the cultures there, because it destroyed, you know, many cultures there. And there was a hiatus somehow, they ceased to develop, you know, for some time, you know, in that area. So we have determined the time, and that helps also the archaeologists who study the past, but from, as I said, geological, atmospheric, other phenomena.
It is so dramatic also.
By luminescence dating. This is the
very dramatic, incredible. Thank you so much, Ioannis. It was really wonderful what you presented us, and like a piece of art also. So we have the direct connection to our Erzsébet Katona Szabó. I would like to tell you that I do not know her personally, but we had a wonderful communication. She is a wonderful person. We spoke several times at the telephone, and I'm so happy that I could find her during our members. I contacted our members and I asked her if she would like to present her creation with us. So I'm very, very thankful. And now, Mitch, may I ask you to put the film? And I thank you again to Matthias for his sustain.
Dear Violet, dear Ioannis, dear colleagues, I'm so happy to meet you in this evening, and I have opportunity to show you my artworks from the last 40 years. Thank you, Violet, for this idea. I present you my son, Matthias, who will help me in this presentation, and maybe Matthias, who will help me in this presentation, and maybe she can put me some questions. Even my English is a little bit poor for a very good answer, but I try to explain something about my artwork.
The materials convey us a peculiar message day by day. Maybe this is the reason that throughout my artistic career, I have been seeking new technical usage of different textile materials with a creative curiosity to find this artistic message. She started her career, including her diploma work, by designing and weaving tapestry. Later, she was experimenting with different techniques originated from weaving. In her work, she used plant motifs, nature-inspired delicate colors, poetic creations. Maybe the Art Nouveau also inspired her with its dynamic lines.
This was one of my first tapestries. It's 40 quadrat meters, 2 and 2. Too high and too large. This is in a property of Decorative Art Museum in Budapest.
The very first quote was the message of the material.
And seashells, maybe. This is an anti-Europe exhibition. Sometimes I exhibited tapestry work and dresses together because I made them together. Inspired from a fairy tale.
Fairy tale when the different stages the hero has to go through are the silver forest, the golden forest, the diamond forest, the steel forest, and so on.
Can you say what about the sizes, please, of these works of art? How large are they?
I think this is my last.
Matthias, could you please comment if
after that I
the
begin
dimension
to work?
I think I can comment as we go on with the chat, but these are basically wall. So imagine that they cover the wall like 4 to 8 square meters. Wow. So they are big works, but like, yes. Later we will go to what are the size of the different pictures, because there will be very small ones and huge ones as well.
Other works. And also I finished to make too much dresses in this 2000, in this year.
After finishing her studies, she started working as a fashion designer. She got to working with leather. Her first designs were ready-made leather garments. She continued as a puppet designer and scenic, and ultimately she started running her own studio in Gödöllő. She designed clothes and tapestries for more than a decade, exhibiting regularly. In the various group of silk and woolen dresses, she used stylistic elements of Hungarian and sometimes European folklore, the structure of the Greek peplos, the ornamentation of goldsmithing of the migration period. The cut of the dresses often follows that of the old peasant shirts. Their ornament is inspired from the embroidery of Kalotaszeg, Transylvania, and Galgamente region, Gödöllő. The ornamentation of her pompous dresses series uses motifs from the archaeological objects related to Pannonian avars. For example, the griffins decorating the golden vessels from the treasure of Nagy Szent Miklós.
You see the correspondence with archaeology, Ioannis.
Yeah.
These dresses were exhibited.
If you have an idea to comment, please.
India.
I have many ideas.
I would be happy. I feel it could be very nice if you could comment also.
A lot of places, they were really big success. Sometimes I organized fashion shows with my dresses and dresses of my colleagues, artists also. And this was a fashion show in the Gödöllő Royal Castle with a big tapestry made by us also. It is in the back. These are silk dresses. It was a group of my dresses. This was my personal fashion show from 1997. Was presented on music, was classical music, which has a fantastic effect for the people who was watching this show. They cry and it was a fantastic, the finish of this was the finish of the fashion show, and it was a very big moment, and for myself also.
Mm-hmm. Decades after her work in the leather factory, she started creating leather tapestries using the acquired experiences. This became the most well-known aspect of Erzsébet's art career. Quote, "I feel honored that the once living material, the leather, helps me realizing my art, formulating my ideas, grants me the miracle of creation."
This was cutted by scissors, and it's a really big work. It's 360 centimeters high and 160 centimeters large. As it is nice to be in the space and have some light on the back, on the wall, on the wall on the back.
What is the material here?
Same work, also a big one.
Matthias. Yes, these are made from leather.
Leather.
This is all leather.
These are all leather.
Wow.
In this segment, these are basically like palm-sized leather pieces sewn together and then cutted and then layered and then different colored in different techniques.
Is it so that it reflects the light?
It does not reflect. But it can be lighted because it shows different colors, but it doesn't reflect in itself.
3 meters high and 3 meters large. People were interested of this technique of working in leather, and you see a visitor who was very interested of that. These works are like some boxes they are double. I use the surfaces in such a way to try to have a special effect, also with light on the back.
And there are different layers of leather in front of each other. This creates this effect.
These are small works, 30 centimeters, almost all of them. And they were cut also by scissors.
You have a pretty big series of these kind of garden works.
Yes.
A lot of gardens.
Yes, because I love very much garden and gardening too. This is my hobby. This cutting in leather, this is an organic gesture, how to say? Gesture. And somehow is very approach to the nature, because it's made by hand, and your biological, physical body is inside. You are a member of nature, and I feel myself like one of a piece of my garden when I work with leather all the time. And the ideas come also from the garden too, and the garden motifs and the plant motifs, flowers and roots and a lot of things.
And
bees.
Can you say that what you cut into is almost like the property of the leather, the property of the material? So it is there, basically.
Is in two ways, more ways. Sometimes it's such a kind, other times I have an idea. It's a play with material and a play with the thinking. It's very, very free occupation.
We do not see all, Matthias, rain-soaked French garden. Where?
So the question?
It is not possible to see all the three lines. Rain-soaked French garden, what?
But you look at the French garden.
Yes.
Louder. Thank you, Mitch.
Yes, that is the title. So it only says detail aside of it.
If you could also comment the dimension always, Matthias.
Yes, I can. I will comment it from now on.
Of garden.
This
is almost like
a view from the yes, no, yes. This is possible in visual arts. In the life is not possible all the time. And in the deepness you can see also.
I think this is a big one.
This is like a sea. Maybe Atlantis. It was a dream.
You can imagine these as the whole wall of a room. I think we can go on as I
2009
spread some comments.
I began to work a little bit geometrical compositions, tones and elements. I was interested of space and effect of perspectiva in the painting or in the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
This is as well about a wall of a room.
The material, please. Can you tell us, is it still leather?
Yes, these are all letters. I think the white spots you can see are some kind of chemical reaction. Yes, this one I think is a smaller one. It's like 1 meter by 1 meter, and this is mine, so I get it as a gift. This is in my apartment.
Aha, this is Vortex Vulcan. Vortex Vulcan.
It's just Vortex, the one before.
Yeah.
The sea and the water also was inspired by a lot of times. I have a group of works with this theme. I have an exhibition in Cologne in 2018, and the gallery was on the side of the river Rhone, and I made a work for inspired by Wagner opera, Treasure of the Rhone.
These three are probably smaller ones, like 1 feet by 1 feet, but this is a huge one again.
In the room in Gödöllő Town Hall.
Where is this exhibited? You said town hall something?
Can you pause the video? Yes, this is in Gödöllő Town Hall. I mean the one before. So
Gödöllő Town Hall.
And yes, this is, as you can see, the size of it. The next one, this is the biggest one yet, and we are talking about a little philosophy behind it. So please go on.
And this is my highest work in the exhibition in Bigodó in 2002, and I'm staying in the exhibition hall there.
The wall is in creation since 2002, a leather collage, which is finite and non-finite at the same time. It can be continued on either direction. Its size is only dictated by the wall space it is on and the quantity of its material. It was the idea of the interior and exterior wall of our soul. Sometimes the finished parts were on display, but then she carried on making it. The current dimensions of the wall is 3.5 meters high and 13.5 meters long. A part of it is in Turnhout, Belgium. 2 elements of it are in her studio in Gödöllő.
I was inspired by the wallpapers from leather. This was fashion in the 16th, 17th century in Europe, almost all over Europe. In Wawel, I see also in Krakow very nice rooms with this leather wallpaper, and also in Museum Plantin Moretus in Antwerp. In this work, I made it long time, days and days and weeks, and it was a kind of meditation because I was alone and I was working like an improvisation because I have a structure, but I didn't know how big will be at the end, and maybe it's not finished yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is this inspired from the silent film Metropolis?
I wouldn't say so, but maybe.
This work is also could be continued in all directions. I try to make how to say in visitor 3D artwork with a double illusion. Once you see, you think that this is wood, but it's not wood, it's leather. Other part you could imagine that is in a space, but it's not in a space. But maybe it could be continued. Maybe I will do it if I have a big hall to exhibit.
Matthias, are they objects?
Can you pause? No, these are leather works as well. So they are made from leather. They are 2-dimensional, but they look like 3-dimensional. And yes, I think this is the most you can do as an illusion from leather. So you cannot really tell what's the material it is made of and if it's in 3D or not. So this is a kind of a trompe-l'oeil with leather.
I understood that Erzsébet told us, but it is the power of the object in space, not only 2-dimension.
Come again, please.
Begin another kind of cycle of artworks.
Visual arts work in the physical medium. With these works, she tried to combine the sensibility of poetry and the tactile appearance of text. Her paper works dating from the years 2002 and 2014 have attempted to address this duality in their own manner. She has been hand-copying various sonnets of Shakespeare in Hungarian, English, and Flemish so many times and in such a way as an actor reads out to himself while learning a poem by heart.
This is a very thin paper, 2, 3, 4 layers. Sometimes I have some secret inside my poems, sometimes, or my ideas maybe, but you can read the Shakespeare sonnets and details of the sonnets sometimes. was a wonderful meeting for me in these years with literature, poetry. And all languages, in English too. For me, this English of Shakespeare, it was not hard. People say that it's not possible to understand for us, but it's not true. If you read enough times and if you write it a lot of times, you understand everything.
This is the proverbial sonnet, which all Hungarian knows because of a fantastic translation from Liritzis Szabó, but this sonnet isn't very popular in other parts of the world.
Yes, I have an exhibition in Wales at the birth of the Shakespeare, and they were very surprised that this is the sonnet which is Hungarian, is well known. In England, they say that the 18 number sonnet is, which is very popular too. Mm-hmm. I think for every people all over the world, they have a popular sonnets of Shakespeare.
Yes, definitely.
I hope so. I use color by coffee and tea for coloring these papers. Mm-hmm. This is a wonderful color. And Indian ink and aquarella sometimes for the colors. We were in Stratford. You have been also. We were together and visit the house of Shakespeare. And after that, I make this work.
Quote, my emphases and choices from Shakespeare's sonnets may be called accidental or arbitrary. Yet, immersing myself in this masterful poetry, I believed less and less that the message coming to the person would be accidental. Like all manifestations of Shakespeare's mind, they speak of emotions of universal validity. I intended this series of paper works as my own personal homage, a monument to the work of the master of the 415th anniversary of William Shakespeare's birth. The main part of the wall, her monumental work, was created between 2002 and 2006. It can be interpreted as a sequence of infinite stories, almost like a diary. Years later, she made compositions of nature art from the leftover leather from the wall, installing them in the garden of the Gödöllő Contemporary Art Colony.
This photo was made in 2016. This was the original color of the leather.
Oh.
I think this is in the autumn of this year. You see the color come a little bit pale.
Quote, the weather, rain, sunshine, and the wind have left their graphic marks on the leather strips. When they were finally applied as part of the wall fragment size series, I realized I was seeing the imprints of the time. Visible and invisible traces of human suffering and joy live in the surrounding world. Memories that, although faded over time, are preserved even if we don't talk about them, just as the leather preserves the essence of the once lived animal. Everyone can feel this who wears or works with leather.
And this photo was made in 2019, and the changes you can see here.
The wall fragments size leather series commemorates the demolition of the Berlin Wall, the symbolic moment when the division of Eastern and Western Europe has dramatically ended. The vestiges of the Berlin Walls are symbols, but they physically preserve those decades too. Quote, "To me, the traces of the memory of the skin work in a similar way to the traces left by the existence of the Berlin Wall in the memory of the people." End quote.
Now I see here Christiane first. Is it the end of the film, yeah?
Yes, it was.
Thank you, Matthias. It was an invitation to meditation, really inspiring, just the opposite of agglomeration of sounds. And so at the very beginning, I was thinking, oh, where is the music here? Why is not music? And then after a while, I just was more and more convinced about the wonderful new perspective, silence, and having the time to go deep in what we can imagine, because it could be so nice to see the exhibition, but the photos are so expressive. I was very impressed. So if somebody would like to ask Matthias, somebody, but anyway, would like to make a comment, I would be very happy. If not, we will have
Matthias?
Yeah, please Tasos.
I noticed something really repeating image in many of the works, which tells me that this shape has a special meaning for the artist, and that is the spiral. Several of her works had a spiral in several places even. And since that is, of course, a sign that many other civilizations have used in the past, I was wondering if this design, spiral design, has a meaning for the artist, that she uses it so often. What would you say about it?
I couldn't help with that, unfortunately, so I am not an expert on my mother's works. But please ask her in email, because I think she will have an answer to that.
I think it is. Oh, my echo. I think it is very interesting to know what the artists think about. On the other hand, I would say that it's also very important. It's creative. The art, the way we are understanding and we are projecting our own feelings and thoughts, looking at these pieces of art. I think that's also that. It doesn't matter, in fact, what Erzsébet would say. It is important that we have the possibility to go to a kind of inspiring trip to go into our own thoughts. So these images are for we saw. I had always also the feeling I have to touch them. They're so it was so close to us. Maria, would you like to tell something? To tell us something? We do not hear you, please. Mitch, can you help to listen to Maria?
I can't unmute her.
Maria
has to do by herself.
Can you please do it yourself? Unmute you. We still do not hear. Listen to you. We do not hear. Please, now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you listen to me now? Yeah.
Yes.
The feeling I had is that this was an amazing work, a very creative work. But to the question you put, I can answer from myself that this kind of art can give different messages according to the moment in which we look at it, okay? Because it is an abstract art. It is not an oil painting of the 18th century or the first 19th. So the abstract art, this kind of art, is food for thought. But we can read this art in a very different way, in a reaching way, because we all were silent, and each of us felt something different, some different feelings. Each of us gave a different interpretation of that piece of work, I suppose. This is what visual art can suggest. Maybe if we go back and see the same pieces in a different moment, we can read them in a different way. This is also creativity from the artist, because she succeeded to suggest a lot of things in our minds, in our heart, okay? Visual art can determine this kind of feeling. We can differentiate our feelings according to a particular moment of the reading of that image.
Thank you very much. It was
same can happen for a poem, because if you read a poem by Shakespeare, it was mentioned, you can feel something according to the moment of your reading. Okay, each of us can read in a different way, can get different messages, because art is not science, is art. So the art can suggest different things, okay?
Thank you so much, Maria. It was a wonderful comment from you. Thank you very much. Look, Matthias gave us, I don't know, I sent also the address, but it didn't come. So I'm very happy that Matthias Szabó sent here the mail of Erzsébet. I would like to thank you very much for your coming, and like Ioannis, also we wish you Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year with a lot of health and joy and success in all all things you are dreaming. Thank you very much, and see you again next year.
Next year.
Yes. Thank you, Violeta. Thank you.
Thank you, Ioannis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.